to the J&A podcast. Today, as always, I am Aaron, and on the other side we have the one and only Jeffrey. How you doing today, bud?
I'm doing pretty good. How about yourself, man?
Doing good. Just chilling out, playing Madden, living life.
Same, man. I'm trying to take one of these bad teams to practice on my end. Because they need to work on the fundamentals. Well, I guess we'll just start out how we normally do, you know. What impressed you this past week in the NFL?
Let me think about this, because there's multiple things that could say impressed me.
Hey, well, that's always a good thing.
I'm gonna go with something that a lot of people don't talk about. A lot of people think he's underperforming, but I still respect what he's doing for this team. Baker Mayfield.
Baker, my guy.
A lot of the big sports analysis is saying that he's not living up to the hype. He hasn't done nothing since he came back, or since he started. And I mean, I guess you can think of it from different points of view. But I mean, you can never take away what he does for that football team emotionally. Not that many quarterbacks can go out on that field and get that team hyped. I mean, not only does he get that offensive side of the ball hyped. I mean, if you listen to some of the pregame speeches, he's hyping the defense up. Like, there's not that many quarterbacks. There's not that many quarterbacks that can sit there and talk to a defense and hype them up. You know what I'm saying?
Absolutely. I mean, you have to truly have command of the locker room to have guys listen to you.
Mm-hmm.
Hey, he's a rookie and he's got guys listening to him.
And after a disappointing loss in the playoffs, not in the playoffs, that you thought.
that would be awesome if they were to make it. You know what I'm saying?
They would have still lost.
Well, I mean, if they were to make it, you know, after the year they had last season, that's a ESPN 30 for 30 waiting to happen.
Right. But after a disappointing overtime loss. What was the final score again for that game, if you have it up?
26-23 Bucks.
And everybody's talking about how his face was during that whole game, which is actually it was crazy, his emotions during that last drive.
All in the span of 5 seconds, by the way.
Yeah, and it was a great meme on the internet, and for y'all that goes on Facebook and Instagram. But overall, like I was getting at, he had a really decent game. I mean, he didn't show out. But when I like to say who impressed me, I'm not always, this is going to sound crazy, I'm not always looking for stats. And that's why the reason I said Baker is because just seeing what he can do for that locker room, for that roster is just phenomenal to me. And that's why he made my who impressed list this week.
I really like your answer, and I really like Baker Mayfield. I think he's going to be a good quarterback for sure. I mean, he's already a good quarterback, but you know, I feel like he's going to have a good career. There we go. Better answer.
And let me turn it on you. Who impressed J&A? Who impressed Jeffrey? Who did it? Who did it this week?
It's going to be interesting. This actually happened Thursday night, and it's from a player that honestly hasn't done a whole lot since his last Super Bowl appearance, Von Miller. I'm going to give him credit, okay? Now, he came out, I think, 2 days before their Thursday night matchup, the Broncos-Cardinals, and he said, basically, we're going to kick y'all's ass, and I'm going to have a good game. And not only was that true, they won by 35. He had his best game in a while. 2 sacks, 6 total tackles for loss, I believe. I think he had a fumble recovery. I mean, forced fumble as well. I mean, he was balling. He lived up to what he said. Yeah, he lived up to what he said. And honestly, like I said, you can talk all the junk in the world. I feel like as long as you live up to it, it don't matter. Keep talking. Keep flapping them gums. And I got to give him credit. You know, he backed up his claims this week. And, you know, I don't know who they I don't know who they face next week, but I hope he says the same thing next week. Oh wait, they're not facing a 1-win team next week. Okay. I'm just playing Von. Shout out to Von Miller. He put his money where his mouth is.
He did. And I respect that.
So, you want to update us on Le'Veon Bell, man? What's going on? I feel like this is a never-ending saga.
Alright, sorry about that.
It's all good.
Short and simple, he still hasn't shown up. And honestly, I don't see him showing up for a while, the way things are going. I feel like he would have came back if he didn't see that Earl Thomas injury. He could have their hands on it, whatever. But I feel like that's what, like, the icing on the cake to stop him from coming back anytime soon. And I'm not going to make this like a big segment like I did last week because we already know what's been happening.
True.
Same thing every week. I'm just short and simple. He hasn't came back. And now I will say something that's involved around that thing I was talking to you earlier about how he said he bought over 100 Mega Million tickets to try to get enough money to get Le'Veon Bell to come back. Juju Smith said that, and that's phenomenal.
Juju Smith-Schuster is a national treasure.
Yep, and that's just phenomenal. And that's what I have to say about the Le'Veon Bell situation. Don't expect him to come back anytime soon because of that Earl Thomas.
And unlike ex-Dallas Cowboys or certain NBA players, Juju Smith-Schuster doesn't have to trash talk on Twitter to be interesting. Just throwing that one out there too. Yeah, I think Le'Veon would have definitely came back by now. And for those that are wondering, well, what does Earl Thomas from the Seahawks have to do with Le'Veon Bell not coming back? Well,
he saw that injury, bro.
Yeah, he's also another disgruntled, teammate who's been balling out, has played above his contract, and he just wants a good extension, and he hasn't gotten it either. And he saw, Earl Thomas played a few games this year, got injured, and Le'Veon's like, I don't want that to be me, because you know what that means. I'm not going to get the fat extension. So Le'Veon's just looking out for Le'Veon. At the end of the day, is it selfish? You determine that. I'm not going to tell you whether or not it is.
I'll go make a prediction.
What's up?
If he doesn't come back by week 14, guess when he's coming back?
What's
playoffs. He's going to come back in the playoffs if they make it. Trust me on that.
Well, the Browns are clearly making it over them and the Ravens, so we're not going to have to worry about that. No playoffs. I'm just playing. You know what? Speaking of coming back for the playoffs, we'll be halfway there next week, which means mid-season awards next week. So definitely be on the lookout, people.
Definitely.
Just plugging, next week's show. That's all. Let's see. We had a couple of trades that went down, but I tell you what, we'll work our way up to the big one. So we're going to start off with Eli Apple, the wrong Eli according to a lot of people and memes. And Odell. Well, in a meme, yeah. But Eli Apple was traded to the New Orleans Saints, who were shopping for a corner. They ended up giving up a 2019 4th round pick and a 2020 7th round pick to acquire Giants corner Eli Apple. What are your thoughts on the trade from both parties?
Well, this is a hard one because the Saints didn't have to give up that much for him.
Yeah, I think the 7th would have been just fine.
So I guess the Saints won the trade because I'm just gonna say the Saints won the trade because New York is not only hurting their team, but but like as you see in some of the other trades, they're going through an emotional wreck right now.
Yeah, you will not be hearing the Giants only one time in this segment, but I'm just going to put it like this. I think both teams got what they were looking for. I mean, the Giants were trying to get rid of Eli Apple now for, the second year after last year had a lot of discipline issues. I believe the team benched him, Janoris Jenkins, and DRC at one point due to disciplinary action, and Eli Apple was the one that got benched the most out of the three. He was the former first-round pick from a few years ago, wasn't panning out, and I think they were just ready to move on. And the Saints, Ken Crawley has not been performing as that second outside corner. Patrick Robinson's injured for the year, so they needed cornerback depth. They figured they'd go get one that's on the market, that they actually know has been on the market for a while. And Eli Apple, I guess, I don't know if he's an upgrade over Ken Crawley, but if you ask Saints fans, they're going to say anyone is, so we'll have to see for ourselves.
That's sad.
Ken Crawley balled out last year too. They disrespected him. I mean,
who showed out was Marshawn Lattimore.
well, yeah. I mean, he won Defensive Rookie of the Year, but Ken Crawley, you know,
Who hasn't done nothing this year.
Yeah, he's had a sophomore slump. It's fair to say. It happens. I mean, I still think he's going to be a good corner in this league, but yeah, he's just suffering from the sophomore slumps.
First play, literally the first week. I don't know if you saw this or not. It was like a 40-yard pass because he got burned. First play of the game.
Yeah, against Tampa Bay. That's when Ryan Fitzpatrick was the MVP for about a solid 2.5 weeks.
They shouldn't have benched him that early. We don't know what he could have still done, JJ.
Yeah, I mean, who knows, man? But there's a lot of that's a what if for another time. But I guess we'll work our way to the second trade. Remember, we said this wasn't going to be the one and only time you hear from the New York Giants. Yeah, that's because they were active once again. They traded one of the better run stoppers in the league statistically, Damon Harrison Sr., to the Detroit Lions. Yeah, Snacks Harrison, man. Very interesting guy. If you ever watch an interview with him, he's something else. But
Detroit won that trade.
Yeah, they traded him for a 5th-round pick. And yeah, pretty certain Detroit won this trade. Why do you say they won the trade, though? Just for viewers' sake.
I can't sit here and say quite sure what he's worth, but he's a hell of a lot higher than a 5th-round pick.
Yeah, fair enough.
See, I gotta also put age into it, but even with his age, I'm still not gonna sit here and say I'm gonna give him up for a 5th-round pick. Sorry, but that's really. I shouldn't have to even say anything else other than they gave up a 1st-round pick when they gave up a 5th-round pick for him.
Yeah. Now, all right. If you're the team trying to get him, what's the most you're willing to give up for Damon Harrison? Yeah, if you're trying to get him, what's the most you're willing to give up?
A 2nd? No, a 3rd.
Okay, a 3rd. I was gonna say a 4th and a player.
I like it.
Yeah, I would say Detroit. Spoiler, I believe my bold prediction of the entire show is gonna be they win the trade. I know it's crazy, but Detroit, their 2 weaknesses over the past several years as a team has been A, running the ball, and B, stopping the run. They've been underrated this year running the football. Kerryon Johnson coming off a 150-yard game. No media press whatsoever for it. I think that's shameful. And
Detroit?
Yeah, Kerryon Johnson just had a 158-yard game against Miami.
They finally had the 100-yard rusher?
Well, he had 100 yards a little sooner than that, but they just haven't blown it up. It's like they always talk about Detroit when they're not doing good. As soon as they like break the curse or break a record, it's like, oh, no big deal. It just happened. I hate it for them. And then another area for them has been, stopping the run. They just haven't been that great this year. They, at one point for a 3-week or 4-week stretch, they were dead last in run defense. So definitely getting Damon Harrison, that's going to help it out a lot, I would imagine.
And I bet he's glad to be out of New York.
Yeah. Like, who would want to leave New York? Well, it's the Giants, I mean, they're in a rough spot right now, and we're going to talk about them a little bit more later in the show. It's going to be a Giants-heavy episode, so...
Can I ask you something?
Sure.
What's the most you would give up for Odell?
What's the most I'd give up for Odell?
Don't be silly either. Be honest, because I know you might say, "Oh, not that much. He's trash."
I don't think he's trash. You know how I feel about Odell, but I would give up. I don't know. I think the same thing the Steelers are looking for Le'Veon Bell, a 2nd and a good player. I think that's good value. Considering the contract that he's on, yeah, that's pretty good value.
A 2nd and a good player?
Yeah, like an impact player, not like some 4th string, or not 4th string receiver, but the number 4 receiver on a team. Like, it's nothing that drastic.
You wouldn't even budge for a 1st?
Maybe, but first year or a first round pick for next year, maybe. Like if my team's still bad, you know, I gotta keep that first. And Odell.
Well, at least you know he ain't going nowhere. He's got a contract.
That's also true, but you know, maybe he gets disgruntled and he wants out. You never know.
What's the next topic? What's the next trade?
Oh, the you know, the big trade. Are you ready for the big trade? We got Amari Cooper from the Oakland Raiders. Remember, it was like in February of this year, I believe. John Gruden, good old Chucky. John Gruden said that, you know, Amari Cooper is going to be the focal point of the offense. And then last week he said, oh, the rumors are false. We're not shopping Amari Cooper. And then we find out a few days ago, kind of like everybody else, you know, that Amari Cooper's been traded to the Dallas Cowboys for a first-round pick.
Crazy.
And Dallas, who was receiver needy, found themselves a pretty good receiver, I would say. And you know, the Raiders got their 5th first-round pick for the next 2 years. They're building up that draft capital. So we pretty much are. We discussed it off air, but how do you feel about this trade for both parties?
I still say Dallas won. You did give up a first, but I mean, you got Amari Cooper, a big name, a lot of people know about him. And you might say, but Oakland got a first. Well, look what they lost. You feel me?
Yeah, they also traded Khalil Mack, but you know,
yeah,
no big deal to John Gruden. You know, no big deal.
Yeah, whatever. He's a thug, man.
So you're gonna give Dallas the dub?
Yeah.
What if I told you, in my opinion, I don't think either team lost the trade?
We talked about this.
We sure did. I don't think anyone really lost the trade, you know what I mean? Like, Dallas was receiver needy. They got their receiver. Oakland, looking for a first-round pick, got their first-round pick. And the reason Dallas traded a first-round pick, you're probably wondering, why would they buy into that whatsoever? Because, like, I believe Sunday, the Philadelphia Eagles and the Washington Redskins both offered their second-round picks to try to get him. So Dallas, preventing their rivals from getting Amari Cooper, said, we'll throw in a first. Now, was that a move, a desperation move, or was that the proper move that they needed to make?
Again, that can go both ways.
That's why I'm, you know, just if you had to choose.
That's probably a better move. You don't want your division rival to have you guys to lose that 2 times a year.
Yeah, I mean, it's gonna be hard. Now, there's, you know, there's upside and there's downside for good old Cooper. You know what I mean? The upside, obviously, he's 24 years old, and fun fact, he's only 6 months older than Calvin Ridley, who's a rookie. But that's not important. I'm 20. They're both 24, but Amari Cooper's. Yeah, he played until his senior year. Yeah, I mean, there's upside, of course, with the fact that he's still young and you can still develop him. But there's downside because since he's been in the league, he's tied for the leader in drops, which is definitely not a good stat to have attached to your name as a wide receiver. I mean, they already had one guy. They already had one guy associated with that category. I don't really think you want another one.
Who's the other people that least?
I don't want to bring him up because I feel like he'll just. I don't have a Twitter account, but I just feel like he'd come at me on Twitter if I said it. So.
Yes.
Yeah. I didn't want to make him relevant like Jerry Jones did, but it's, thank you. Yeah.
Oh, this is double covered every play. This is so good.
Hey, I mean, he was good at one point. I'm not going to deny that. He had about a. It was a divisional round, and back then, that was the rule. People act like the new rule is going to change what happened 3 years ago. That's what I got the most laughter out of when that new catch rule became a thing. Like, what are you going to do? Take a time machine, go back to 2014 and change the outcome? Like, go ahead. Would have lost to Seattle.
You think so?
I know so. I mean, that's when their defense was at their peak. And by the way, fun fact about Seattle, they're actually 5th in the league in total defense. No Legion of Boom either.
This year?
Yeah, 5th in the league. I looked it up this morning.
God dang.
No Legion of Boom either. 5th in the league. That's better than Philadelphia and Jacksonville. Just to give you a perspective.
Who's number 1, 2, 3, 4?
Number 1's Baltimore. Number 2 is Dallas. Dallas still remained at 2. 3 and 4. I can't remember.
Green Bay.
Nah, Green Bay's 15th.
They moved down.
Yeah, they were 6th like 2 or 3 weeks ago. They were there here. I'll pull it up real quick. My bad. Tennessee's 3rd and the Rams are 4th.
I didn't even realize Calvin really was that old, dude.
I mean, it could be a good thing or a bad thing. I mean, there's plenty of other examples in different sports, but it's not our job to talk about those other sports on here. But I mean, I kind of like it when a guy stays all 4 years. You get to fully develop your game, and then when you get to the NFL, you can take it to the next level. I like that. I think it's a good thing. So I wouldn't be upset with having a 24-year-old Ridley.
Calvin Ridley's never really going to get that much attention because until next year when we get our defense back.
Hey, Calvin's a stud. Okay, like he could probably make the Pro Bowl in his rookie year because of the stats. I know, but I'm just saying statistically, those are Pro Bowl numbers for at this rate.
How many rookies have made it their rookie year?
Amari Cooper did. I know that. That was like his only good year. No offense to him, but
stop hating. Give that man respect.
I will. You gotta show me something though. He only caught 22 passes this year. I mean, you're basically on track to catch like less than 50 passes. But it's not your fault though. You've only been targeted 32 times. It's not really your fault.
And how did your star receiver not get targeted?
I don't know, man. John Gruden wanted him to be the focal point, and he couldn't get him involved. I think a lot of it has to do with they've been trying to play him in the slot a whole lot, and he's not really a slot receiver. Even though he's a good route runner, he's not a good slot receiver. He's more of like a number 2, in my opinion, but he can easily be a number 1. Amari Cooper.
You don't see him as a number 1 receiver?
No, I see him. I said he could easily be a number 1, but today, like in today's game, like right now, current day Amari Cooper, he's a number 2. I mean, look at the year when they had Michael Crabtree. He was the number 2. Crabtree was the one getting all the catches and all the attention. But easily he could be number 1, especially in Dallas. You don't have a damn choice.
Amari Cooper is number 2.
Wait, as number 2, Mohamed Sanu or Amari Cooper?
Yeah.
Amari Cooper.
And that just defies your thing because you pretty much said that Michael Crabtree would be number 1 before Amari Cooper would be a number 1.
Exactly, because he was. He had more catches than Amari Cooper.
I know, but y'all be sleeping on Muhammad, bro.
Ain't nobody sleeping on him. He's the number 2 receiver in Atlanta.
He's better than Crabtree?
Yeah. But you want to know something? They've never played on the same team. Yeah. Wait, you think he's better than Crabtree? I'm not saying he isn't. I'm saying, do you truly believe that?
Well, I don't know. That's hard.
Because I think they're kind of on a similar level.
That's the only. Listen. I'm glad you said that because I thought we were just going to go the dick move with each other. But since you asked me that question, whenever you said Amari Cooper was the number 2 to Michael Crabtree, that's why all of a sudden I asked. So who would you rather have at number 2, Muhammad Sanu or Amari Cooper? That's the reason I asked that, because if he said Michael Crabtree was the number 1, I believed that Muhammad Sanu is better than Michael Crabtree. So that pretty much meant that you would rather have Muhammad Sanu at number 2 than Amari Cooper. You feel me?
Yeah, no, I feel you. I'm saying, Amari Cooper can be a number 1 receiver, but I'm saying current day Amari Cooper on a good team is a number 2 receiver. On Dallas, he ain't got no damn choice. He is the number 1 receiver because there's nobody that touches him in that locker room right now.
Oh God, don't tell Dallas fans that. Tavon Austin, bro, he's a beast.
Oh yeah, you mean the guy? The Rams couldn't even get him involved, and they have Sean McVay, one of the best young offensive coaches in the NFL.
Okay. We can't flex. They're not bad. He's not a horrible guy. Tavon Austin's not totally trash.
I know. I mean, he's a former top 10 pick, I believe, or at least a first rounder. And he couldn't even see the field with the Rams. I ain't trying to diss him, you know what I mean? But he's still in the NFL, and that's all that matters. So I just wish the Cowboys would find ways to get him involved. I mean, they did at the start of the year, but I feel like now he ain't even getting on the field.
Which one we're talking about? Tavon Austin, right?
Yeah, Tavon Austin. I feel like now
you don't think he gets on the field that much?
Not really. Not on offense. Not like recently. Remember, like
he's
against.
Suspended right now,
Is he? Damn.
Yeah, he's suspended for a couple games.
Oh, that would make sense. Well, I mean, he is in Dallas, so that would make sense.
I mean, don't quote me on it. I thought he was, anyways.
I know somebody for Dallas is suspended. I don't know if it's Tavon. It probably is, for all we know.
Alright, let's keep it going, bro. We're having long moments.
It's just a Dallas thing. Anyway. Is there anywhere? Well, here, I'll touch on one more news thing, and then I'll officially turn it over to you. But Patrick Peterson, to kind of lead us, segue us into the next thing. But Patrick Peterson, his name was coming up in trade rumors basically a few weeks prior, or not a few weeks prior, but at least a week prior, and he came out and basically demanded a trade, but then he kind of went back on his word and said he just wants to be a part of the solution. He said it out of frustration. He doesn't want to leave the Cardinals, which leads me to believe he's going to be traded in the next 3 days.
Wait, really?
I'm just playing. He'll be traded like next week at the deadline probably, because
he's actually getting traded even though he came out with that statement?
Yeah, it just seems too scripted. You know, I just feel like that could happen.
Alright, but did you not hear the GM? He said there's no way in the world that they're trading Pat Pete.
You know, I could have swore I heard that from somebody else in a different sport that I'm not allowed to bring up.
No, say it. Who was it? No. Bring it over for a second. We do this sometimes. NBA, right?
Yeah, I'm pretty sure the GM said the same thing about DeMar DeRozan.
So, he did, didn't he? I even remember that.
4 o'clock. Yeah. Yeah, DeMar DeRozan was, basically told by the GM, hey, you know, like, you're the franchise guy, you're the untouchable, and literally a week later, DeMar DeRozan and Jakob Poeltl traded for Kawhi Leonard and Danny Green.
I mean, you do get, but that is a good person to get traded for, you know?
Yeah, I mean, but what if Patrick Peterson gets traded for a pick and a good player? Because I don't think they'd do a 2-player for 2-player type of trade. Because obviously it's two different sports. Yeah, exactly. But I'm saying, like, what if Patrick Peterson gets traded for like a good player and a second instead of a first?
No, I'll say this: don't totally deny that, because it's totally possible to see a two-player trade.
Yeah, I mean, I'm not going to rule it out, but it doesn't happen enough, I guess. But you know, I just feel like it's the same song and dance. Like the GM's like, oh, we'd never trade you until we find the right package, and then we'll trade you. Like, that's where I feel like this is going. But truthfully, Patrick Peterson's done a lot for that team. I mean, he's made Pro Bowls as a corner and a return specialist, so you can't sleep on that. And he's been one of the more consistent guys at corner. Whether he's been top 5 for a long time or top 7, that's up for you to decide. But like you being the people at home and ourselves, but like Patrick Peterson's been one of the more consistent guys over the last 7 years at that cornerback spot. So yeah, there's literally only one guy he can't cover, and that's Julio Jones, which nobody can cover him, so it don't matter.
Even Pat Pete came out. Didn't Pat Pete and them have a conversation about that before?
Yeah, I mean, Patrick Peterson, I think Julio, okay, one game that I know for sure, Julio had like 180 yards on like 11 catches.
Against him?
Against him.
It wasn't even one of those.
Yeah, it wasn't like one of those, I'm going to lock you down for the whole game, but only had like 2 of his catches on him. Like, they were at it the entire game. I remember that because that was like a big time thing because Julio played at Alabama and Patrick Peterson played at LSU.
It was the year that the Falcons went to the Super Bowl.
Yeah, it was. It was like mid-season.
And we blew them out.
Yeah. I remember that because Palmer didn't really have that great of a game, and neither did Patrick Peterson. But I mean, I give him credit because at least he went head on with Julio. I mean, not a whole lot of guys would be willing to take that task. Like, hey, one-on-one, one-on-one, no safety help, just me and you, pal. Like, I give him credit.
I love that type of thing.
I like it. That's why I don't really think there's a corner that could cover him. Like, that may be a bold prediction, whatever, but
now,
I don't really think there is.
People say, "Oh, there has to be a receiver that can stick him out." We didn't say that. Anybody can just stay on a receiver. I mean, he doesn't. I mean, it doesn't matter if someone's on you. There's not that many people that can cover him. Anybody can run with him. That's a totally different thing than for someone to sit there and not let him catch the football.
For most of the game.
Yeah.
Like the only
because you're right there on the receiver doesn't mean that you covered him. He caught the football. You know what I'm saying?
Yeah.
Because of his height, because of his strength, he caught the football. You didn't cover him. You might have been on him, but you might have stuck him, but you didn't cover him.
Yeah. Now I do want to ask you a question. As the Falcon aficionado on the show, if there is one corner in the league that you think would have the best chance of covering him for an entire game, who is your money on and why? Obviously just doing the best job, not locking him down, but doing the best job at trying to. Like, who would you put your money on?
Ooh, a lot of people are going to disagree with me, bro.
Go for it. I like this.
Put my money on Xavier Rhodes.
Hey, I mean, he locked down, or I ain't gonna say locked down, but he played really well against Mike Evans and Antonio Brown in back-to-back weeks.
No, I still don't think that it would. But if I had to put my money on somebody, I expect Xavier. I expect him.
You say, yeah, roads closed is what they call it, but all I'm saying is Devontae Adams cooked him up in that Week 2 game. Well, it's honestly it's between Xavier Rhodes and AJ Boye, because we all know Jalen Ramsey wouldn't cover him. And I hate to say that, but it's true. AJ Boye, I mean, aside from that divisional matchup against Antonio Brown, I mean, he allowed the lowest passer rating against opposing quarterbacks, and he pretty much took the better receiver. And I just feel like he would do a decent job on Julio. I mean, obviously Julio's gonna Julio, but we're talking about the best chance, and I think he would give the best chance out of all the elite corners in the league.
Julio's running.
Yeah, Julio's gonna Julio.
Bad, right?
Yeah.
Because even with Julio faces a team with good corners, you still see him get double covered. Why do they not have trust in their star corner?
I guess not. A lot of it has to do with scheme too. I mean, but obviously, yeah, it's more of a trust thing. I think I told you just before. The top five receivers, I don't think could get locked down by the top 5 corners. I really don't believe that.
I understand where you're...
Because personally, I think the top 5 receivers are better than the top 5 corners, if you look at it from that perspective. Now, obviously, you'll have a guy like Xavier Rhodes who might have a good game against one or two of them, but can the other four obtain the same amount of lockdown ability? That's a whole nother question.
Like a team of AB, Julio, and I don't know how you feel about this, but I'm gonna put Odo in there. No, I'm gonna be smart.
Nah. You keep him. Keep him.
So a team of Julio.
Just say the top three receivers versus top three corners. Nah, man.
Top three corners. I would truly versus Xavier Rhodes.
The receivers are gonna win.
It would be the second.
Bucket. I'm gonna say Xavier, AJ, and the third one. I'm gonna just leave that up to you.
Dude, man, Jalen Ramsey hasn't shown me nothing this year. We're going off the year. Pat Pete's been playing very good.
Yeah, man. Yeah, I mean, the team's been bad, but he's been playing good.
So this is, all right, you know what? You know what we're getting at here.
Yeah, just say top three versus top three. I would put my money on the top three receivers over the top three corners.
Well, there's so much things that factor, like how good your offensive line, how, you know.
Okay, let's just say every other position for both teams is just average, but they're the elites. So the D-line's decent, the linebackers are decent for the defense, and then for the offense, it's like the quarterback's decent, the running backs are decent. So just average. Everywhere else, whoever you think, well, we'd have to look at the stats, but basically whoever's in the middle of the pack. So that's more like of an opinionated, like, guess, I guess. So just basically everywhere else except for the offense with the wide receivers and the defense with the corners. Everywhere else would just be average at best.
What's our next topic that you guys?
Let's talk about a few of these games, man. I'll let you bring up a game first if you'd like. I'll let you bring up a game.
Something I hit on earlier, the Tampa Bay Cleveland game.
Oh yeah, man, for sure. It was good.
I really enjoyed that game.
Yeah, man.
The Falcon New York game. That was a good game.
Yeah, and I will say this, going back to Tampa Bay and Cleveland, Nick Chubb made his first start. He actually did start the game. 80 yards and a touchdown. I would say he played pretty well.
Give him some respect, JJ. I'm telling you, I know talent when I see it.
It's not hard to spot talent when we're talking about Nick Chubb. I mean, I never.
Don't you give that man respect?
I have respected him. I'm just. I have.
Start him in a fantasy league when he got a start. That's how you know.
Because I needed to see what he can do. I didn't know if he'd have like a half. I didn't know if he'd split carries or not with Duke Johnson. I just had to see the first week. No, he's not. He's a good receiving back. I just needed to see. You know, this was an experimental. I still won my game, so I don't care. I'm 6-1, so I can care less. When you're me, you can make all the risk you want, so it doesn't matter. But
you are very lucky. That means you are God.
Well, I'm gonna be honest. Half the players I drafted aren't on my team anymore.
Wait, what?
Because they just been trash. I'm just saying, like half the players I drafted are no longer here. I changed my lineup a lot week to week. But it doesn't matter because the record is what matters. I mean, it is what it is. But Nick Chubb, you know, first start. I really just needed to see what he would do in his first game as a starter. I didn't know how many carries he'd get. I didn't know if he'd get a snap count because it's his first start. So I just figured, hey, let's see what he can do. Gets 80 yards on about, 14 carries. He got himself a touchdown. Yeah, he played well. Even though they were once down at 15-2, you know, they kept their composure. Baker Mayfield made some good throws. Jarvis Landry caught 10 passes in this game after not really getting involved with Baker as much as I thought he would be. They stepped it up this game, had a great game. A late game touchdown as well to tie things up. And Jameis, man, had some crucial turnovers. They could have lost this game just as easily as they could have won it, but Cleveland again, just being Cleveland. But then the Falcons game. What were your thoughts on that? I know you had a crazy Monday night. So
it was a game. Defense. I could say they played well, but I would have to look who they played against.
The 27th ranked offense.
Yeah, they did pretty well. Just playing them, I guess, but that's playing them. I need to see more.
Yeah, I mean, they gave up 20 points to the 27th ranked offense, but it doesn't matter. They won at the end of the day. Matt Ryan was out there slinging it. Eli was out there, trying to play to win, which I appreciate it. Some questionable play calling, amongst the masses when it came to Pat Shurmur and company, but I'm not going to say it's questionable, but you know what I mean? People are saying it's questionable. It's more opinionated, definitely the clock management was suspect, but going for two.
We stuffed that quarterback sneak, bro, all day. We stuffed that. You see that?
Yeah, I think they try to run it back to back, and they just both got stuffed.
Yeah, stop. That was a big boost for us. I was like, damn, okay.
Yeah, that's what I'm at. It's like suspect clock management, but the play calling, I mean, hey, you got to play to win in this league, and I respected the fact that they went for two, from an outsider's perspective. I'm not going to hate on them for it. Yeah,
because if they would have came back and stopped us and got another touchdown, they would have won the game by an extra point.
Yeah, as long yeah, especially if they would make the extra point. Speaking of another game where a team went for two, playing to win, let's talk about the game in London between the LA Chargers and the Tennessee Titans. Tennessee ended up losing 20-19, but towards the end of the game, they went for two, and they didn't get it. The Titans now move to 3-4. They're a game behind the Houston Texans, who have won 3 straight. And the Jaguars, who have lost 3 straight. We'll talk about them here in a moment. And the Chargers, they've won 4 out of their last 5. They're starting to string together some momentum, and I think the Chiefs should be looking behind them, even though they've been playing well. What are your thoughts on the London game? Yeah, I think the Chargers can. What were your initial thoughts on this game? I know, I didn't really see a whole lot of it either until last moment. I didn't even know.
Same. I'm not gonna sit here and say I watched the whole game. I wasn't able to watch a little bit. Like the end.
Yeah.
So what I do see, I mean, the main question I can ask you from this is Marcus Mariota your quarterback for the future? Would you trust him?
That's tough, man, because he just hasn't. It's kind of similar to Jameis Winston, man. I mean, he just hasn't lived up to that hype,
Unless he's throwing a
yeah, which in his career he's 1 for 1, so I got to give him that. 100% catch rate for Mariota, but it's tough, man, because he's kind of in the similar. Yeah, well, yeah, Nick Foles, he's a beast. Former Super Bowl MVP Nick Foles. There we go. Has a ring to it. Yeah, but Mariota, for real though, on a real note, it's just kind of tough because him and Jameis were both really successful in college. Mariota playing for Chip Kelly in that Oregon offense, before Chip Kelly came to the NFL and ruined the Eagles, and he went to the 49ers and started Blaine Gabbert over Colin Kaepernick. Anyway, we're getting off track. So, Mariota, was successful. Winston was successful in college, and then the pros hasn't treated him so well. Mariota had his worst career year last season, had more turnovers than touchdowns, and had more interceptions than touchdowns. And this year, hasn't really done a whole lot either. And you really got to look at yourself in the mirror and think, with an extension pending, is he the guy? And for me, right now, it's a no. But it's kind of hard not to. It's kind of hard to just throw in the towel on a guy as talented as he is. I just think he hasn't put it all together yet.
Yeah.
It's kind of like how I feel about. It's kind of like how I feel about Amari Cooper. You know, just another.
Winston ain't getting shit, bro.
I know, man.
I just can't know what Tampa they're gonna sign his ass.
I don't know, man. Tampa Bay, man. If they start losing their patience. I don't know, man. I feel like Jameis is going to have a few games where he just doesn't turn the ball over at all.
How did Tampa play?
Tampa looked good.
Jameis Winston.
You know, Jameis is going to Jameis. Some stupid turnovers that he shouldn't have made, but, you know, that's just him putting a lot of trust in his guys. Two of his picks, I think, were to Christian Kirksey. I think he had a fumble as well, but the picks to Kirksey, one, he just completely didn't see the linebacker, and the other one, he got hit as he threw it by Myles Garrett, so make what you will out of those interceptions, but... 90
overall, maybe.
Yeah, man, beast. Mike Evans and Cameron Brate seem to be his go-to guys, and I'm still waiting on him to get DeSean Jackson involved. DeSean Jackson caught his first pass of the game in overtime. So I'm yeah.
I bet he's angry. I bet he wants this catch back.
Yeah, because he was actually getting involved offensively with him there. So yeah, they definitely got to have some sort of trust and communication. I know Mike Evans is his dude because, you know, they were like a year apart in the draft, and Cameron Brate, they've built a good relationship, but you gotta be able to get that ball to guys like Chris Godwin and Adam Humphries and not Cameron Brate, and DeSean Jackson, and you gotta look towards OJ Howard's way too. And I think Tampa Bay would benefit from a good rushing attack, but considering they have not gotten Ronald Jones involved either, it's kind of hard for Tampa Bay to run the ball and be successful. But yeah, Mariota, though, which is the main point of this discussion, I think he's got all the tools to be a good player, but it's like a puzzle with two pieces left, and he can't fit either one of them in. He just doesn't have it all together.
Damn, they gave him one from the puzzle.
Yeah, it's a 24-piece, and he can only get 22 pieces together. Another game I guess we could talk about is the Sunday Night Football game that they had to move to Sunday night because the Bengals were doing good, and I'll just go ahead and tell you they did not look like that team that people could have swore up and down they were gonna be.
Isn't this 2015 all over again?
It sure does feel like it, and I think Andy Dalton's coming back to 2017. Because he just looked flustered in that game. But yeah, the Chiefs basically mollywopped the Cincinnati Bengals. It was like 45-10. It was not good. Kareem Hunt had like 3 total touchdowns. Maybe 4. I lost count. I mean, he was just taking over that game. Joe Mixon only had 50 yards rushing. And, Bengals lost. But A.J. Green played good for him. I guess that's a positive, if you were to take a positive out of this game. So what were your what were your thoughts on both teams' performances, and how you feeling about the Bengals, that real contender out there, huh?
I think Kansas City's going to be Kansas City.
Yeah, Matt, Kansas City's good offensive team.
Bengals, I mean, everybody started jumping on them for no reason. I'm trying to say, 2015, everybody's like, whatever.
Oh yeah, didn't they go 9-0 and almost choked everything away?
Yeah,
I swear they started 9-0 and finished 10-6. I could be wrong, but
right.
That's pretty pathetic if that's actually true. But Andy Dalton did get injured, so I guess if that's your excuse, he was balling out too that year, so I'll give him credit. But yeah, man, Andy Dalton just did not look comfortable whatsoever. And the Chiefs' defense is like 29th in the NFL.
Hey, you know the real question is, JJ?
What's that?
I wonder who the next Brett Favre is going to be coming out of the draft this year.
Yeah, I mean, his name just seems to get thrown around.
Why can't they just be themselves?
Yeah, like, if I'm a draft prospect, like, no offense to those great quarterbacks that they mentioned, but I'm trying to be the one and only. That's just my attitude personally, but, I mean, they embrace it. I mean, Josh Allen, the guy with the big arm, he could be Cam Newton, but not as athletic. I guess in terms of completion percentage, yeah. I mean, I guess in terms of completion percentage, yeah, he can absolutely be Cam Newton. Under 60%, that's a good mark. But, yeah, I don't get that either. Everyone's got to be compared to somebody, and it's all really just for entertainment purposes, just to try to stir up controversy. And it happens in all sports, like everyone gets compared to somebody. It's like in the NBA, who's the next LeBron? Or who's the next Larry Bird? It's stupid. In the NFL, it seems to be, who's the next Favre? Or who's the next Julio at wide receiver? It's always something crazy like that. And I really don't appreciate it. Let them prove themselves. Don't be giving these guys...
Half the guys are supposed to be somebody is nobody.
Exactly. Isn't Sam Darnold, according to one sports analysis, supposed to be like Brett Favre mixed with Andrew Luck? I don't know, man. I don't know. It sounds crazy, right? Yeah, it doesn't make sense to me either.
Yeah, sounds great.
And it's funny because the same guy said Baker Mayfield is Case Keenum, but I'm pretty sure Baker Mayfield is having a more efficient season than Case Keenum.
Yeah.
Anyway, we're starting to get off topic. Patrick Mahomes, I think, is going to be a good quarterback, throughout the duration of his career, as long as he stays in Kansas City. And that's just my personal opinion. I think Andy Reid has been great with Patrick Mahomes. He's done a great job at mentoring him and getting him into spots that he needs to be in. And he's making the throws, man, at utilizing all that arm talent. And that's the difference between arm talent and arm strength, Josh Allen. You can throw the ball 100 yards. Can you throw it accurately for 100 yards? And Patrick Mahomes, who came out with a strong arm, has found a way to put it all together. So I got to commend him for that. And whether you want to say it's the offense or say it's his work ethic or a little bit of both, we got to acknowledge that. And he's doing well, but that defense does scare me in Kansas City. I know they played well against Jacksonville and against Cincinnati, but I mean, Blake Bortles and Andy Dalton, they're no Drew Brees and Tom Brady. I don't even think Eric Berry's played this year. He's only he's had a calf injury.
He came back last week.
He's had a calf injury. He might have came back, but I just know I have not seen him in a while. Like, he was on the sideline for that Bengals game.
Oh, my bad, brother. That made me feel key.
I hate it for him because he beat his battle with leukemia, and then basically the game after against the Patriots, he goes down with some, I don't know, MCL injury or ACL injury, and then this year it's a calf injury.
Tragic too. That's an injury last year.
Yeah, and he just recently, like a year or two ago, became the highest paid safety in the NFL, and he hasn't been out there. I believe so, unless, Earl Thomas just gets a fat extension from the Seahawks, but I would say, yeah, he still is. And
wait, was that you predicting that Earl Thomas isn't going to have a job no more?
No, he'll have a job. He'll have a job. I just don't know where Seattle's at. Are they going to bring him back, or are they going to move on? Like, they've seen them move on from Sherman just fine because they're top 5 in defense. So it doesn't look like that's the issue,
Dude,
but
I'm sorry. Dude. It's different. I mean, I would rather have. No, never mind. I don't know. Now that I start thinking of it, but I mean, it's Earl Thomas.
I know it's Earl Thomas. I know it's Earl Thomas, and he's an impact player, and he's contributed.
Would you rather have average corners and a great safety and another average safety, or one good corner and the rest is average corners, and then like just I guess okay safety, not average but okay.
It depends. Are the average guys going to step up on sometimes?
That's for you to find out.
Exactly, and we won't know until we look on them until we look at them on the field. Look, what I'm saying is obviously Earl Thomas has contributed to them being top 5 in defense. There's no doubt. But even without him, they moved up to top 5 in defense. It's like, yeah, he's important, no doubt. But it's kind of like the argument people are making about Le'Veon. And I don't know if you read my comment, but I said personally I think James Conner is more of a product of what the Steelers can do offensively. But it's
Le'Veon.
Yeah, that's where I was getting at. He's still one of the best, if not the best, running back in the league. I mean, and that's how I feel about Earl Thomas. I think he's the best free safety in the game when he's healthy and on the field. But Seattle still manages to have a top 5 defense without him. And sometimes it's crazy, but sometimes, if you can do it without him, why pay him? But I think they should pay him because I feel like your chances increase with him on the field. Let's see here. Let's see if there's any more games we want to get into. Oh, yeah. The battle for first place in the NFC Championship for now was between Dallas and Washington. The game ended in a 23-20 finish?
It was a really good game. I watched it.
Yeah, man. I got to see bits and pieces of it because, I wasn't at home for most of that time, but I got to see the missed field goal and everything that happened within the last 3 minutes. Was it a penalty on the center, the long snapper?
Honestly, I need to go back and I need to look at it again. I've heard what some people said about it, how he did it his whole life and all that. I just need to see it again before I make a real legit comment on it. So I'm not just gonna make some. I need to go look at it again at some point. You know what I'm saying?
Yeah, personally, I say no, but I can kind of understand why they'd call it. But I understand too from. I can't believe I'm saying this, but I actually understand from a Cowboys perspective on, he's basically done the same routine his entire career, and all of a sudden in year 14 he's getting called for it as a penalty. I understand that too. Personally, I think Jonathan Allen jumped off sides, but the flag was drawn against Dallas because I think the center was trying to adjust the football, which some of them actually do it before they hike the football, but not all centers or long snappers obviously. But from 47 to 52, we know how field goal kickers have been this year. 52 yards is like the old 62 yards from 5 years ago, so
yeah,
I had a feeling that he was going to miss it. I was like, if they call it on Dallas, he's going to miss it. That's what I was literally saying to myself as I was watching that football game, and what do you know? He missed it from 52. And Dallas, I'll give Dak Prescott credit. On the last drive, he was composed. On third down, he was throwing it to Cole Beasley. I'll give him credit where credit's due. And obviously, we get to see the new look Cowboys with Amari Cooper in the future when they have to face Washington again. But overall, I think both teams played well. Washington just outlasted them.
Yep.
And the difference in the game was actually running the football. Adrian Peterson had a better game than Zeke. At like age 32 or 33.
Yeah.
I don't know really if I could add anything else. I mean, I think we hit on all the main stuff for that game.
I think that might have been it. Everything that we, right?
And we'll see if any blockbuster trades happen or if any good trades for a certain team happen. We'll be there to cover it all for you next time on the J&A podcast. I'm JJ.
And I'm Aaron.
And this has been the J&A Podcast. Enjoy.